Well,
It's 6:30, Bob.
it's the magic hour. Okay, let me call the meeting to order, and welcome back, everybody. And thanks so much for joining us on this cold winter night. I'm looking forward to being back to our meetings and a potluck dinner in the community building. Maybe having this particular meeting by Zoom is not such a bad thing after all. It's a little chilly out there. So tonight we have a lot to cover, so let's get at it. Liz, you want to put up the agenda?
Yeah, give me a second.
Well, right now they're nurses. I don't know whether they're giving them.
Okay, so first I'd like to take a moment to share the highlights of tonight's agenda. 2021 is the 45th anniversary year of the Southport Historical Society, which fittingly was established in 1976. Remarks about this milestone will be made by former President Pat Kirkman. In Pat's remarks, we will have a brief and very positive report from our treasurer, plus equally positive reports about membership, virtual programs, sales of bricks, books, and a variety of other items. And I'm very pleased that Adrian Bernie is here representing the North Carolina Federation of Historical Societies, and she will be our guest speaker. Let's begin with the pledging allegiance to America.
A minute.
So next
Here we
slide.
go.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for chiming in on the pledge.
Bob, I'm sorry. Can you hit mute all before we go? Now that we're done with the pledge, because it's
Sure.
making your voice cut in and out.
Okay, I've muted all.
How's that?
Okay, where are Donnie, would you like to give the blessing, please?
Let us pray. Most wise and almighty, our Heavenly Father, we'd like to, first of all, give thanks and praise for the many blessings you have bestowed upon us. Thank you for allowing us to assemble tonight. Thank you for blessing in advance this meeting and all the participants that is involved in this meeting. God, I ask if you would please to go with the members of this body present on Zoom, guide them, keep them in your loving care. Lord, these are trying times now, and I ask if you would please to have a special blessing for all those who are sick or in need during this pandemic. Because we know, Lord, if we only have faith as much as a mustard seed and believe in you, things will happen. And Lord, when this meeting is over with, I ask that you still send your guardian angels to wrap your loving arms around each member and their families during these trying times. These and all blessings in Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, thank you very much, Donnie. The President's remarks, I'm going to start my remarks again, thanking you all for joining us tonight. Tonight you're going to hear a lot of good news, and at the risk of stealing some of the thunder away from our speakers, let me say that the state of the society continues to be very strong, and I've listed out 10 points that I think indicate that strength and the year we had in 2020. First, we significantly increased our membership in 2020. And Mary Ellen Watts-Poole will be speaking about that a little later. Second, we contributed to Southport's 4th of July celebration by presenting a really fantastic virtual 4th of July program that focused on women's right to vote. Thirdly, we sold an unusual large number of books about our local history. Fourth, we contributed a virtual celebration of an old-fashioned Southport Christmas as part of the city's Winterfest program. Our Commemorative Bricks program was a great success. And that was after two fairly slow years. And this year we had a kind of an all-time winner with our Commemorative Brick program. Six, we published 4 quarterly issues of the Whittler's Bench newsletter. We actually received the largest number of individual donations and grants in our collective memory. Number 8, we provided $2,000 in scholarships between 2 local students, one who was attending the University of North Carolina and another attending Messiah College in Pennsylvania. And we were, as you know, we were not able to offer the 2020 Christmas Home Tour, which is our largest fundraiser. And at the beginning of the year, we fully expected to have a fairly large annual deficit. However, to a lot of great work and a little luck, we will deficit down to just over $1,000. And finally, but most importantly, we have, during 2020, we directly addressed our mission of preserving Southport history by presenting over 50 virtual programs, or to literally hundreds. And it really, with using Zoom and Facebook, it's arguable that probably that number was in the thousands of participants. How did this all happen? I think you know the answer. It happened because of everyone who volunteered and supported our efforts. The secret to success, to the success of the Southport Historical Society, is all of our volunteers and supporters. We are fortunate to live in a community that understands the importance of learning and sharing the lessons of our collective history. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Southport. Before I close these remarks, let me close actually by reminding you that our work is not done, and we can always use your help. We have a number of volunteer opportunities available. And if you want to volunteer tonight, please stay on the line at the end of the meeting, and we can talk about opportunities that we have. So thanks for your attention and attendance, and let's move on quickly to the election of new board members. We have 2 openings on our board of directors and 2 nominees. Catherine Huffam is one of the nominees, and Catherine, as many of you know, is a native of Southport. And by joining the board, she was following in her mother Trudy's footsteps. Travis Gilbert. Travis just completed a 1-year term on the board, and I'm sure you're going to join me in saying congratulations to Travis, as he has just been named the executive director of the historic Wilmington Foundation. Congratulations, Travis. Yep, lots of cheers. Okay, so as you may know, the board is comprised of 10 members, 9 of which are voting members, and with the treasurer as a non-voting member. The 2020 members are myself as president, Liz Fuller as the vice president, Bob Hagerman, the secretary, Phil Fravel is our treasurer. Directors are Mary Ellen Watts-Poole, Donnie Joyner, Desiree Bridge, Travis Gilbert, Doug Donaldson, and Libby Walton Merritt. I want to thank Doug Donaldson tonight for fulfilling a 1-year term on the board in 2020. And while Doug is going to go off of the board, he is looking forward to the opening of the garrison so he can continue his volunteer work in the Susie Carson Research Room. You may remember that in November, the board appointed Libby Walton Merritt to fill the remainder of Linda DeTorres' term. Now, Linda, while she left the board, is going to continue as our volunteer leader of our Christmas Home Tour fundraiser. I just wanted to mention about Libby, that Libby's a retired educator, and really she's most interested in helping the society work with local teachers and students. And as soon as she gets moved into that new house, she'll be on gangbusters and doing that, helping us do that. Now to the nominations. The nominating committee, which was this year was the board as a whole, nominates Travis Gilbert and Catherine Huffam as candidates to serve 3-year terms as members of the board of directors of the Southport Historical Society. With that said, nominations of other candidates are now open from the floor. Are there any nominations from the floor? Okay, if not, all those in favor of electing Travis Gilbert and Catherine Huffam, please indicate yay by waving your hands at your... Okay, all right. All those who oppose signify nay by waving your hands now. Well, not seeing any nay hands, and the yays have it. And congratulations to Travis and to Catherine for your election to the board of directors. Yay. Next on the agenda, and thanks everybody, that was fun waving, seeing everybody waving at me, that was kind of neat. Next item on the agenda is Pat Kirkman and the 45th anniversary remarks. Pat is a former president of the society, former vice president, former president. She ran the whole thing for quite a few years. Pat, you're with us?
Yes. Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, folks, everybody. Good to see and hear and be a part of this Zoom annual meeting. And this year, 2021, we are celebrating the 45th anniversary of our Historical Society. January 16th, 1976. It was a dark and stormy night. Well, I don't really know if it was or not, but on that date, January 16th, 1976, 19 folks got together in the boardroom at the library and had the first meeting of our society. Now, this came about because, if you'll remember, 1976 was also the bicentennial year for our country. And there was a lot of talk about various things, of course, to do with history of our country. And then local towns and cities began to think more along those lines as well. And it did not go unnoticed in Southport either. Our founding mothers, 2 ladies at that time who started chatting about starting a historical society, were Susie Sellers Carson and Eleanor Potter Smith. Many of us got to know Susie, I think, and maybe some of you even knew Eleanor. She was a little before my time, and I've been in Southport and a member of the society for almost 25 years now. So this was the beginning. These 19 people met there together, and they decided to leave the membership for charter members open until the 1st of April. And so by that time, there were 42 members who would be considered charter members of the society. I think I'm correct in saying that the only two charter members we still have with us are Susie's daughter, Catherine Kalmanson, who lives here in Southport now since her retirement, and also Mrs. Swain, Pauline Swain, who is still among us. And if I'm incorrect, somebody can correct me with that. We still do have the original list of the 42 charter members that Susie wrote out in her handwriting, and many other archives, which of course are available on our website at southporthistoricalsociety.org. So they began then, one of the first things they did was to start the newsletter, the Whittler's Bench, which we still have every quarter now. And there was also a big push for genealogy. That was a big concern at that time. And so with the Whittler's Bench, genealogy, and the beginning of collecting archives, as well as having a monthly, or excuse me, 5 meetings a year for speakers, that was kind of the founding way it began. Our first book was published in 1978, and that was the first of the chronologies that Bill Reeves worked on. So I could go on and on and on about the many things that have happened in the 45 years, but we don't have time for all that tonight. But I just wanted to be able to share with you that this is an eventful year, and perhaps throughout the year we'll be sending out some posts or in the newsletter going over some of the things that we have done in the past 45 years as a society. Thank you for being a member. And I will just put in this plug for being a life member. If you are not a life member and would like to do that, that might be your next step in your membership in the Historical Society. Thank you, Bob.
Bob, you're on mute.
Guess it'd work better if I unmuted myself. Thank you, Pat. I want to mention just a note about Eleanor Smith and her being from, or at least lived in part of her life in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. I grew up around the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area, which is about 30 miles from Carbondale. And at the beginning of this year, which was the beginning of my first term as president, things became a little scary out there, maybe overwhelming. This kid from Wilkes-Barre, and I kept on thinking, oh, gosh, wouldn't it be horrible? This Eleanor Smith was the first president, and then we're going to be with Bob Surridge from the same area of Pennsylvania, perhaps being the last president. Now, of course, that didn't happen, wasn't going to happen, but I do find it interesting that Eleanor and I have roots in the same part of Pennsylvania, and I guess both of us made it to Southport as soon as we could. Treasurer's report. As per our bylaws, the treasurer is an appointed position, and our current treasurer is Phil Fravel, and he's by far the longest serving member of our board. And by my count, Phil has outlasted maybe 4 or 5 or even 6 society presidents. So let me turn the floor over to Phil and his review of the highlights of the 2020 budget. Mr. Fravel.
Welcome to everybody. You should see on your screen the recap of the of 2020. As Bob mentioned earlier, we did have a better year than we thought we would. Again, there are several reasons: brick sales, donations, membership dues. The only negative we had this year is because the Fort Johnson gift store was closed, and we purchased some T-shirts a week before they closed it. We ended up with a in the red for the year for $1,100, but we have sold some of those T-shirts through the online system, and basically anything we sell this year should be pure profit. We may have to pick up a few little kids items, things like that, but no major inventory purchases. We had a great year on online sales. You can see we sold over $14,000 of items. That's books, T-shirts, ornaments, prints. So that is not all profit, of course, but that is a very impressive I think this is our first full year of having the online sales. And we were very fortunate to bring in a lot of money from the online sales. On the negative side, our biggest expenses this year were insurance premiums, and we have different policies, property insurance on Thor or Canon, director's liability. And then when old jail expenses, we had to do some maintenance to the old jail. So there are some maintenance items in there. And the other thing is we are now, which we should have been doing all along, we are paying the utilities for the old jail. That's both for the water and sewer and electricity. And that's been on our lease for every year. And this year, the city, I think maybe the new city manager figured it out and said, oh, we need to fix this. So we are now paying that. So that's pure expense. And because the old jail hasn't been open, we didn't get the donations that normally will offset any expenses from the old jail. But overall, as Bob mentioned earlier, we had projected about a $9,000 net cash flow or loss. Not really a loss, it's just negative cash flow. But as you can see, our cash flow for this year was we only went down $1,271. So it overall, as I reported to the board in January, we had a decent year, given we didn't have the home tour, we didn't have the Fort Johnson store open. So let's all hope that 2021, as we get into the spring and summer, will turn around for us, and we'll get back to normal this year. And at that point, I say, any questions? Then Bob, I assume it's back to you.
Okay, thank you, Phil. And you're absolutely right. It has been a surprisingly very, very solid year for us. Moving on to membership and commemorative bricks. Mary Ellen Watts-Poole just finished her first year on the board, and it's been an action-packed year. She's done a great job with both membership and also along with Scott Len on our commemorative brick program. Mary Ellen?
Okay, hello everybody. I want to talk about membership first. We had a great membership year. Oh, okay, thank you. We had a great membership year. We actually, in this year, we added over 100 new members. Just an awesome year. Over 100 new members. And I also want to say we increased over 10 new life members in 2020. So that was our accomplishments on membership for 2020. I do want to say that dues become due on the first day of January, and we've gotten a lot of those in already for 2021. We have sent out reminders to everyone telling them that, or I should say a renewal notice, that dues are now due. Also, we've sent out emails to the individuals of persons that have participated in our programs and in our lectures or classes, if you will. We've also sent out invitations to people who made purchases through our online store this year, and we have invited those people to become members. That we would love to have them join our membership in accomplishing our mission again for this year 2021. And now I'd like to go to the BRIC program. Before I do that, does anybody have any questions about membership? Okay, Liz, thank you for this beautiful picture of our bricks. And as everyone knows, or maybe you don't know, I'll just give a little bit of history about the Commemorative BRIC program. And I'm going to talk about the bricks that are in front of Fort Johnston only. This is the 4th year that we have sold bricks that have been placed in front of Fort Johnston in the walkway, as you see those beautiful bricks in the slide. This year we did an unbelievable sales year. We've had sales for 4 years, and this year, with everything going on in 2020, we exceeded the sales of our brick programs for any of those previous 3 years. Additionally, we over doubled what we sold in 2019. Now you ask, how many bricks did we sell? We sold 79 bricks, and they have been ordered, and we're waiting for them to come in, and they will be placed close to around the springtime. So we want to say, if you ordered a brick from the Southport Historical Society, thank you very much. When they come in and get placed, we will let you know by email that the brick is in, and hopefully I might even take a picture of it for you and email it to you. But anyway, that's what we've done on the brick program. And thank you again. It was a pleasure to work with this program, and it is really heartwarming to see what messages people put on the bricks to commemorate someone or something. And that's all I have. And thank you, Bob. Anybody have any questions about the brick program? And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mary Ellen.
Yes, sir. Pleasure.
Yeah, you know, I mentioned that Mary Ellen was very busy in these programs, but I have to tell you that one of the things that took a lot of her time, you may have seen videos that Mary Ellen did and we put on Facebook, and she was talking about the brick program and the different bricks. Well, she had so many requests for her autograph that that just alone took a great deal of her time. So thank you, Mary Ellen, and I hope you'll be staying with us and not going to Hollywood. If you go, send me a ticket. Book sales. Bob Hagerman has been on the board for I think at least four years. He currently serves as the board secretary, and he also manages our book sales. Bob, want to give you a report? Oh, is Bob there? Liz, Bob must be having trouble with his Wi-Fi.
He's muted.
Yes, I guess he is. I saw him on earlier, so I didn't look up his report. So I'm trying to do it from memory. I know that one of the things he wanted to mention was that these books are our top selling books of the year. Our number one top selling book was, looking for his, the talk that he wanted to give. Our number one selling book of the year was Long Beach, a North Carolina town, its origin and history. We have sold, I don't remember how many copies of that, but a lot of copies of that. I want to say 60, something like that. That's been a really popular book, and that's been an exciting one because it really grew organically out of a group of people on Facebook who are very interested in, I think it's called Oak Island. I think it's called The History of Oak Island is the Facebook group. And also there's another one, Sands of Time. And they just love this book and they order it over and over again. And then they post pictures of it on Facebook and show all their friends, and then their friends want to buy it. So it's a fantastic way of doing it. If anybody else has any books they bought from our bookstore and want to post it on their Facebook page and tell their friends about it, I gotta say it seems to be a great way to sell books. The second one we sold the most of is Color Me Southport. We did do a program on that last summer where everybody got together and we colored and had guest speakers who came and talked about iconic landmarks. And so we sold quite a few of those books as well. And that's a really popular book if people are interested. And I think it may be even getting written up in the paper because it's a local artist that did landmarks. And then the next two were the architecture of Southport, everybody's favorite. Everybody always likes to learn about architecture. And then Art Newton, Southport's Art Newton by Tommy Harrelson. And we did several programs on Art Newton as well as selling his prints. Bob had the stats for how many that we sold, and I'm sorry, I'm not finding it. I want to say we made 133 sales of maybe 155 books. I think that sounds right. So we did really well, and we've got lots more books there if people want to buy more.
Good. Does anyone have any questions about the book sales? As you know, many of our books are written by local authors, and we have quite a good collection. Okay, sorry Bob you had those technical problems. Well, we'll come back to Liz. 2021 virtual programs. Liz is the Society's Vice President.
Oh, actually, I think Phil was going to talk about the our t-shirts. Is Phil there?
Oh, his picture's not up anymore.
Okay, so these are the t-shirts. They are also on sale on at our online store. These are the ones that would have been on sale in the visitor center. I think this is a great, whatever you call it, design. For the shirts on the front, it says Southport, North Carolina, your safe haven. And then on the back is a scene from the movie Safe Haven. So I think they would just be selling like gangbusters if we had them actually had a physical store. But they are available online, and there's like a half a dozen different colors. You can see they're those nice soft colors, and in different sizes, and they're long sleeve and short sleeve, and you can order them on our online store. And then the other one was the Art Newton App Gallery. And Bob, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, it's really a generosity of Tommy Harrelson and Ricky Evans and Julie Newton. We're able to sell prints from Tommy Harrelson's book, but prints that were done by Southport artist Art Newton. And online we have 15 different prints for sale, as you see represented on the screen. They really are beautiful. They're using the Geeklay printing process, so they're beautifully done. Not only by the artist, but in the printing process that is used. Smaller prints, 8.5 by 11, are $25. Larger prints, 11.5 by 14, are $40. $40. I think anyone living in Southport has at least one or two landmark areas that they really enjoy and like, and these prints are a way that you can capture those landmarks. Also, if you're in business and have a professional office and you're remodeling that office, they would make wonderful choices for your clients to enjoy. Okay, any questions about the books, the prints, online store? Phil?
Yes.
Do you have any more? Liz talked about the t-shirts for you. Do you want to add anything more to that?
Not really, but these are not the only other thing. I said, these are not the only t-shirts we have at the store. These are the only ones that we put online because we're our newest shirt. I shouldn't say the newest shirt. We brought them back because of the movie Safe Haven. But we have other items, and if anybody has any interest in anything from the store, let me know because I can arrange. We've already sold a few items this year. Turned out a couple of volunteers wanted some things. So if somebody should have an interest in anything, you know, t-shirts, maps, well, the books, y'all, you can get online. So there are other things are available. So if you have anything you might want to have an interest in, let me know.
Okay, thank you, Phil. 2021 virtual programs. Liz Fuller, our vice president. Liz, would you like to share the plans for 2021?
Yes, we have a lot coming up. As you mentioned, we did over 50 last year between April and December online, and we're continuing at that pace this year. One of the programs we're helping with this year is the Brunswick County Black History Symposium, along with the Brunswick Arts Council, who are also sponsoring the program. It's going to be, there's 4 different days to this, starting the 19th of February when Ms. Carolyn Evans, who you see up there in the pink shirt, will be portraying Mary Ann Cord, who was a formerly enslaved person in the South. She actually lost her family and was reunited with her youngest son in New Bern. So there's the North Carolina connection, and her story was written by Mark Twain because she worked for his in-laws family. So that should be a really good presentation. And if you've seen Carolyn Evans before, she actually portrays historical characters, and she does a really good job. So that is on the 19th of February. And then there will be 3 more days. The following Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there will be a presentation on the Chitlin Circuit and its connection to Southport and some of the musical groups that performed here. And then there will be a talk on some of the teachers and students from the greatest generation in Southport. And then there will also be gospel music on the last day, which will be interesting because this will be the first year that all of this will be done online, but everybody's up for it, and it's gonna be great. So that will be via Zoom, and you can sign up at info@southporthistoricalsociety.org, which you can with all of these. We also are doing a quarterly program this year of Living Voices of the Past. We had the first one in January. This is the recording of it is available on our Facebook page. This is McCallie Givens from Baldhead Old Baldy Foundation, and she was portraying Rebecca Long, who was the wife and then widow of the first lightkeeper on Baldhead, and she did an excellent job. I really recommend her presentation. It's on our Facebook page, and we'll be doing that January, April, and the following months. And then we're also doing a quarterly presentation. Desi Bridge is going to be doing a quarterly program on plant lore. She's going to do, starting with spring. So she'll be doing spring, summer, fall, and winter. And she'll be talking about different plants and how they were used in food and also medicinal purposes historically. So she does a wonderful job. And then we have our ongoing second Tuesday talks. We had in January, we had Carol Bailey come and talk about the Dozier Hardy House. Several members of the Hardy family also participated. And that one is recorded and is on Facebook. And then in February, we're going to have Nate Saunders from Randall Library come and talk about the collection there and its connections to Southport. And then in March, we'll have Steve Simon of the Southport Surf Tours going to be talking about what it's like to be an historical tour guide in Southport. And so that should be an entertaining presentation. And monthly, we have Mike Royal join us as the ever popular Southport Storyteller. Mike grew up here in Southport, and he shares memories of his wonder years growing up in the 1950s and 1960s. And so that's on the third Monday of each month. And then I'm continuing the Armchair History program that we started last year with the pandemic. This month I did Southport in the election of 1876, which was the most controversial election in our country's history. I think it still holds that claim. And that presentation is out on Facebook. This coming month, I'm going to be talking about Southport and historic Black colleges and universities, and some of the stories of some of the couple hundred people in Southport who have attended those colleges, and some of their life stories and how those schools changed their lives. And then in March, I'll be talking about the frontline workers for the Spanish flu in Southport, and some of the stories of the nurses and people who were on the front line. So all of those are, I'm losing my place here, all of those are free, all of those are available. You can register at info@southporthistoricalsociety.org. Oh, and in our next general meeting in March, on March 25th, Bill and Kathy Furpless will be joining us to talk about the Amuse You Theater, which has been in Bill's family since it opened over 100 years ago. So they'll be sharing stories and insight into what it's like to own Southport's movie theater. And I believe that's it. So if anybody has any questions, let me know, or you can always email info@southporthistoricalsociety.org.
Okay, thanks very much, Liz. Not any questions? Let's go to the scholarship program. Desiree Bridge manages the Susie Carson Scholarship Program, and tonight Desi begins her second year on the board. Desi?
Hello. This year, the two topics that we will be doing is the Anna Clemens and the woman's right to vote. She is a fascinating woman that lived here in Southport. She was a nurse for Dr. Dozier. She lived during the pandemic of 1918. And she fought for the right for African-American women to vote. And she actually wrote to the National Women's Party in DC. We have copies of her letters, and I'm not going to give too much more information away because I want the students to do the research, but she is an absolutely fascinating person. And I look forward to seeing some of the reports coming in if the students decide to write about her. Our second topic, I also find quite interesting, is the history of the Cape Fear River Lighthouses. This stems from 1848 Congress, basically asking for 8 lighthouses to be put along from Oak Island to Wilmington along the Cape Fear River. The one that you still see today, we've got a photo of it, is Price's Creek Lighthouse. You can see it when you leave any of the ferries, whether you're going to Wilmington or over onto Bald Head Island. In fact, today, coming back in from Bald Head, even though it was unbelievably cold, the lighting was just perfect. Price's Creek looked beautiful on the river there. Sadly, you cannot see the other ones, but they all had a very pivotal part of Cape Fear River history, and that is during the Civil War. One of the Roricks his name is attached to the Price's Creek Lighthouse. There was a light ship which falls into these beacons up on Horseshoe Shoal, and it's it's another topic that I think the students will really enjoy if they choose to do the history of the Cape Fear River Lights. I am going to get in touch with Sharon Herring, who is our coordinator at the South Brunswick High School. And I believe this year I'm going to do the same thing we did last year with COVID going into the spring. And I'm going to have the students email me their papers. When I set up a board for us to review, I'm going to email them to you. I don't think this spring we'll be meeting in public and going over the papers. I think this is going to be kind of all online again this year. And hopefully next year, when we do our scholarship, we'll be able to meet in person again. And for those of you that don't remember, our winner for 2020 was Elizabeth Pratt. She did a wonderful paper on the Cape Fear River pilots. We had quite a few students sign up last year, and so I'm hopeful we'll see some more this year. I know of 2 high school students that are pretty excited about the subjects, one about Anna and one about the lighthouse. So as we get closer to April, maybe I'll start getting some more papers in. Any questions? All right.
Okay, thank you, Desi. Before we go to our guest speaker, are there any questions for any of the presenters, any of the board members? Okay, our guest speaker is Adrian Bernie. Upon becoming the Society's president, I quickly realized that I needed some help. So once upon a time, I was the director of a statewide professional association. So I felt comfortable reaching out to the Federation of North Carolina Historical Societies, an organization that we have been a member of for, I believe, quite a few years. And as good fortune would have it, I was connected to tonight's speaker, Adrian Bernie. I have never met Ms. Berney in person, but we have been pen pals for the past year. And actually, because of her sunny disposition and willingness to pitch in with good advice and ideas, I think of Adrian as what my go-to person, and I think we've also become good friends. So I'm really pleased that she is with us tonight. So let me introduce you to Andreanne Berney, and who, besides being my pen pal, is the outreach coordinator of the Federation of North Carolina Historical Societies. Adrian?
Hey, well, thank you, Bob. I've enjoyed corresponding with you and being pen pals over the last year too, and look forward to a time that we can meet in person. But it's like magic to be able to be here with you all tonight from Raleigh and see everyone's faces. I'm always nervous when I join a Zoom meeting thinking, is this really going to work? And then usually it does. So that's been a silver lining of this whole thing that you all have taken great advantage of with your over 50 programs. It's so impressive. So a little bit about myself. I've been with the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources for 10 years, and I've been coordinating the Federation for 5 years now. And it is one of the favorite things that I do with my job, and that's because I get to meet people like you all across the state, and every time I work with you, I get to know a little bit more about places and things in the state that I wouldn't have known otherwise. And it's good to see Travis on the call, because I've enjoyed working with him over time, and with unfortunate circumstances in Florence recovery. So it's good to see him with happier topics tonight. But okay, so I do have a few slides to share with you all. So I'm going to try to do that. Okay. So the Federation of North Carolina Historical Societies is a statewide network of history organizations working in partnership with the North Carolina Office of Archives and History to preserve and promote our state's history. And with the time I have tonight, I want to give you a view into how and why the organization began and developed over time. And I also hope we can have some discussion about ways this network can serve member organizations like yours. So just like Southport Historical Society, the Federation is 45 years old. We also officially began in 1976. And just as you all mentioned, it wasn't an accident, because that was the time when there was an increased emphasis everywhere on history surrounding the bicentennial. And staff in the Office of Archives and History had been witnessing the creation of new local historical societies like yours, and museums as well in communities across the state. And they thought it really would be great to have some method of intercommunication between those organizations. So the Federation really started as a newsletter to do just that. And it was the primary activity then. It's also, for many members, what they consider our most valuable service today, 45 years later. It looks more like this now. This is our most recent issue from December, and it's got some of the same design elements as the original one, but it is quite a bit longer today. And we call it the Bulletin now instead of the Federation. And because the organization is the Federation and the Bulletin is one of our products. And the other big change is that we now distribute it by email, and we started merging into that zone about 10 years ago, but it was very gradual. And in the past 3 years, we've only distributed it by email, which has, of course, spared us some operational expense, but we've also lost some members by going completely to email, because some of our members just haven't made that switch, and we've lost some, unfortunately. But that's a good segue into talking more about membership. So this is from, again, that very first Federation, which was the first newsletter, a partial list of the original 20 members. And 9 of those 20 organizations are still with us, but I especially wanted to point out down here, the Currituck County Historical Society, because the contact person 45 years ago was Barbara Snowden, and she remains the contact person. And this is a recent image of her taking an oath to be sworn in as one of the historical commissioners, which is a governor appointed body overseeing the work that our department does with history. And she's on that group. She's still active with the Federation. In fact, she had coordinated a whole 350th anniversary of the Albemarle counties a few years ago, and she won an award with the Federation for that in 2019. So she is still going strong. Let's see, tell you about more our membership now. Our membership did grow rapidly in the 1990s. We had a pass-through funding program where the state actually distributed funds through the Federation to local history organizations. Unfortunately, that came and went in the 90s. It did grow our membership a lot, but we no longer have that capacity. I really wish we did. That's something that the Science Museum is still able to do, but as we all, I think, are painfully aware, science has more funding often than history, so we no longer have that. But our membership has been holding steady at around 120 members statewide. They're pretty well distributed across the state. And this image that I have, I've taken from our website, where we have little map pins for members, and the red ones are supposed to denote those with museums, and the yellow ones are those without museums. But I will say, even though it looks like half and half, many of those yellow ones are historical societies like yours that also operate museums, or some others have a historic building that they open occasionally to the public. So I think a good majority of our members operate museums or historic structures open to the public on some level. And then blue dots, they're looking a little purple on my screen right now, are representing where our board of advisors are based. So we have 12 advisors on our board. The chair is Todd Johnson. He's with the Johnston County Heritage Center, so I gave him a little star. And our advisors work with us for 3-year terms. Those can be renewed often, but there's plenty of opportunity to represent your organization statewide on our board of advisors. So that may be something that you all may want to consider at some point. Okay, so one of our main services that we offer members is our programs. And I think that since we can't offer, or we haven't been offering grants, that's a way that we bring new members in. They hear about a program and they get engaged with that topic and they want to join. And our programs are usually deeply discounted for members, sometimes free, and definitely they have been free since we've started doing online programs this year. But the Federation started out of something called Culture Week, and this maybe something you all haven't heard of. I hadn't until talking to old timers around the department, but our parent organization for the department is still a nonprofit, and it's called the North Carolina Literary and Historical Association. It founded itself in 1900, and over the years, its various activities created the Department of Archives and History, along with the historic sites and the museums, and also the art museum. So that body, that what we call Lit and Hist, would coordinate every year, the week after Thanksgiving, a whole week of activities like history exhibits and programs and so forth. And people would convene from all over the state. It was hosted in the Sir Walter Hotel, downtown Raleigh. And so here's just an example from the 1950s of a newspaper article about it. But over time, and I'm not sure exactly when, but it just atrophied to one day. But Lit and Hist is still around. It's a nonprofit that supports the activities of our department. And every year it has an annual meeting, usually in November, usually in Raleigh. And the Federation still works with them on those programs. So our fall program is actually part of that vestige of Culture Week. And we do the morning program for Lit and Hist's annual meeting in the fall every year, or we have until 2020 when things kind of changed and we were online, and I don't think they had their meeting. But that's the way our fall program has evolved. And a couple of views of recent programs. The one on the left is one of those fall programs I'm talking about, the morning event for the Lit and Hist annual meeting. And this was in 2017 where our program was to open up various storage areas in the department. So what you're seeing on the left is our state archivist, Sarah Kuntz, pulling out some treasures for people in the vault of the state archives. And that same event, we had the archaeology lab open and also some storage areas of the Science Museum. And then on the right, this is a regional workshop that we held at our Western office in Asheville. And the regional workshops are really a way that we can reach many more of our members, because we usually take a topic and we do it 3 times in different areas. And we were in Southport not super long ago. In 2019, we did a military history topic, and our sort of coastal iteration of that was in Southport at the Maritime Museum. And then we also had one in the Piedmont and one in the Western office again. So I also wanted to point out one of our current board members is Sarah Blanchett, who's the speaker in that image on the right. And she, at that time, was with State Historic Sites. She's now with the High Point Museum, which is one of our members. And I want to highlight her because she really helped me, or just enabled us to do a program that I'm most proud of this summer. And that is that just after the Black Lives Matter protests that turned into riots in Raleigh and maybe a few other places like Fayetteville and elsewhere in the state, I think I imagined at the time that many leaders of local history organizations were kind of stunned and unsure how to proceed with African American history topics. So I called on Sarah, and she was a great resource. She was graciously willing to be a sounding board for our members. So we were able to pretty quickly schedule 2 non-recorded, just members only Q&A sessions online with her. And I believe we were able to create a comfortable environment for members to ask honest questions about how they could move forward with presenting Black history. So she was just a great resource for that. So a couple other benefits for membership. We do give a Newsome Award every year, and that's part of that Lit and Hist annual meeting and their awards dinner. And for that award, we try to recognize a project, a member, and a project that really shows excellence in local history. So I have an image on the right of one of the winners from 2013. This is a grave marker for a woman named Rachel Blythe Bauer. And it's in Oakwood Cemetery in Raleigh. The Wake County Historical Society was the winner with this project that year. But the reason that that grave marker is special is because Rachel Blythe Bauer was a young mother who died after her second child was born. But she was also a member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee. And unusually for the time period, she married a prominent architect in Raleigh. And so, you know, I think he designed and created that grave marker. So it's just got many different levels of significance. So that was kind of a cool project that could be photographed. Sometimes they're programs, so they're not quite as stationary. But then another benefit we offer is a revolving fund with no interest loans for members. And this has always in the past been used for publications. We encourage people to repay in 1 year, but we're very willing to grant extensions, and members can borrow up to $15,000. So those 2 books that I'm showing the covers of here are our 2 most recent projects with this program, and they both repaid in 1 year, but that doesn't always happen. But everyone has repaid since this program began, I think in the early 80s. And our board is also very willing to use that revolving fund for programs, not just publications, but no member has taken advantage of that yet. So that's always a possibility too. In the near future, we're very hopeful of being able to offer small grants for members for particular projects, and we'll still work out whether they're for preservation projects or exhibits, and it may be a variety of those options, but I'm hoping we'll be able to do that within a year. We don't have any hope, as I said before, of getting more pass-through funds from the state, but we were able to invest a small amount in the North Carolina Community Foundation, and that allowed us to create an endowment. So I'm hoping we can offer the 2 small grants maybe at a time, maybe $1,000 each, so that sort of pales in comparison to some of the things you all are already offering. I was impressed by your $2,000 college scholarship. And so we're not there yet, but every little bit counts, and our members are really good at doing a lot with a little. So I'm hoping a few small project grants will be something good. And then another service we offer is that we support National History Day in North Carolina. And I know at least one of the Brunswick County high schools is a big participant in that. And I can't remember if it's South Brunswick or North or both. But your district contest is at the Cape Fear Museum, usually when it's in person. And they're also one of our members. So that's a great partnership and collaboration. As a nonprofit, the Federation is able to do fundraising for this program, which the state cannot do as a government entity. And we raise funds, grant funds to operate the program from year to year. We also get donors to sponsor student awards, and we oversee the History Day accounts in general. We recruit members to participate as judges at the district and state contests in the spring. So I hope you all will consider participating that way if you haven't yet. And we also hope that members encourage teachers in their local communities to participate in the program. And then the last thing we do for this program is we donate money each year for an award to recognize a participating teacher, because we want to continue to encourage them. We know it takes a lot for them to participate in this program, and so we definitely want to help give them recognition to promote history education statewide, just as you all are doing in your local area. And then finally, I want to end by getting back to the stated purpose of the organization from that original newsletter in 1976, and that is to share ideas. So I've listed some good ones. I've jotted down some other good ones, like your scholarship program and your bricks that have done so well for you all. And we want to be able to share that with other members and through the newsletter and through programming. Most of the ones I've listed here kind of speak for themselves, but I did want to mention a little bit more about the date night idea, because I think that's maybe one that Southport could take advantage of too. And the first time I've come across this recently is with the Island Farm in Manio. This fall, they started offering date nights revolving around their blacksmithing activities. So it was sort of a blacksmithing workshop for couples, and that's a way they could bring in a small group of people, and you'll see the couples could be very distanced with a very small audience and do a unique activity. So I think with this kind of setup, participants are willing to pay a little more than they normally would to visit, because they're doing something so unique and at an off time. And they've been very successful with that. They're having more this winter. The Kernersville Museum is another member that started doing this also, and they partnered with some entities in their town to have a date night the first weekend in February. So coming up, and a Valentine's Day theme. And I will say that I didn't even share the announcement, because when I first saw the announcement, it was already sold out. So clearly there's a good bit of demand for this kind of program. And I think with the beautiful waterfront location that you all enjoy and your restaurants and other activities, that might be a great thing for you all to do too. So with that, I just want to thank you for your interest in learning more about the Federation, and definitely invite any questions, or if you all have other ideas you'd love to share, I'd be happy to hear about those too. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Adrian. I just wanted to note, I think that one of our members was a student at South Brunswick High School, won an award at the National History Day competition for a video that he produced about blockade running in the Cape Fear River.
Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar. So I think we did have a couple blockade runner kinds of coastal topics last year, which is good, because we have 2 special prize awards that are for coastal topics. So I'm always really happy when students do those kinds of things, because it's nice to give them some recognition. So that's great.
We didn't realize that was happening. We learned because of the newspaper announcement that he won the award. But then we had him as a speaker in we did a tour of the Fort Johnson Museum, and he was a speaker for that. So it's nice to see that, and having he and his family join the society.
Oh, great. And then also with your essay contest for the scholarship, I don't know if the timing ever works out, but papers are a category for National History Day. So if students are doing a great job with one of your topics, then they could enter that in National History Day contest too. The districts usually start in February or early March. So
tell us more. Date night. Tell us more about date night.
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of leeway for you all to organize it the way that works for you, but I think it would just be open to a small group. And Kernersville had a mixture of restaurants and special tours in some of their museums or historic houses. And I think rotated people so that they're not together, and had a very limited number of tickets. Had special rate at a local hotel or bed and breakfast or something like that too. So might be something with Wilmington being close that people would want to do for an overnight.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions for Adrian? Thank you very much, Adrian. You know,
Yeah,
I
it's
really
great
hope that you will come back and see us again. And I also hope that when you do come back, that we're having our potluck dinner in the community building, and you can join us there.
That would be wonderful. It's great to be with you all tonight and just see what your activities are and how engaged you all are. It's really cool. Thank you.
It was good to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you too.
You're a lifesaver, just like Bob said. You're a lifesaver. You make things happen.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? If there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Bob, I want to apologize. This is Bob Hagerman. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I got my Wi-Fi working 5 minutes before the meeting started. Rushed in, got it all set up. Did you see me when I came on?
When you came on, yes, we could.
But because I could never find my picture. And I looked and I looked and I looked, and I could talk to you until you muted, and then it was my turn to speak. I couldn't find my picture to turn the mute off, and I was yelling at you. I called Liz. At any rate, I apologize for the whole thing. I'm sorry.
That's too bad that all happened, Bob. Liz did a good job with your report, though.
She did. I thought it was fabulous. Better than I could.
All right. Okay. Was that a motion to adjourn, Bob?